Whither have you brought me? Accursed ass.
خرخر من جكسر قريبنا بارشا कि तू की तरी तो रही बुदी ये मार कुछ और दे तू माँ दिखा जाए रे बुदो माँ इंजम दनी ना बुदो तू कुछ और दे हमारा
Cried Khoja Nasreddin.
जीख में
I have never been here before. Why is this zindagi khuna maat? Chapter 4 of The Enchanted Prince. After passing the bazaar square, he directed his ass towards the mosque of Khoja. वक्त की हम चौकी बाजार तेर कदक मुला नसरुद्दीन कदम जो खरखो तरफी मस्जिद गोरशाद and तरफ. The mendicant was sitting in his usual place, his head slightly thrown back, gazing up into the blue sky with a gentle smile. बस उन मुँह फिर रहा वापस उसका नज़दीक हम जो मस्जिद की अव्वल हम कदम जो उन मुझे अव्वल मिलाओ शुरू बोल. अमी तरशिश्ता व सर खुसन आसमान गिरफ्ता as though reveling in the thought of his coming flight through that sunlit abyss. और सोच मना दरो दबारे हम जो परवाज़ को दबारे हम जो flight की तरफ एक सितारा रही है. Khoja Nasruddin stopped his ass. रोक कदम खरखरन मुझे. Give me your benediction, O venerable sage. मरामू दुआ हाय खुरा goodwill खुरमर बिदी. ما सफर रही है तो मरा दुआ को. Expect my return in 3 months time. व मने सेमा यानी मेरा उम्मीद कि मैं वापस माय ममजू जाए as पेशी ममजू झील व आगबेक. When I shall tell you about the lake and about Agabek, and haply I may then be able to name my fate to you. وما سيما بعد مايوم خبر يزوجيل وأغبك هم ترميدهم وأميد منهم كي إيمان إزما وروز لستو معلوم دار وشان كتو أزما سوال كده بدينا كي إيمان تشيا وما إيمان خورا ترسابيت من. What a look of rapturous bliss lit up the old man's countenance. وإير چيزا كي شنيت ونمبير روشي از خوشي انتر چراغان شد روشن شد از خوشي. He arose and saluted Khoja Nasruddin, touching the ground before him. استشهد و امو پیش پای Khoja Nasruddin kiss. His lips stirred in a silent prayer of exhortation. دانش خوبان بود لیکن دانش درو شور مخورد از دل خود رو دعا مکرد. Beyond the city gates, the road bore off towards the river. Khoja Nasruddin first rode through the riverside gardens. الشهر की बुरुशुत एक नहर as पालू इशार हम तक दरो रही बुत और Khoja Nasruddin हम पालू द पालू हम ज़ुनेर रफ्ता रफ. Khoja Nasruddin first rode through the riverside gardens, then turned off into a field through a country lane. وزاول कदम ज़ुन नदी एक बाग बुत अज़मनेज़ो तेर शुद अज़मनेज़ो बाग की बुरशुद रसीद दमज़ो किश्ता मर्दों की किश्त कदा हम गंदुम अस्तो चावल अस्तो हर चीज़. All around lay plowed reeking land dotted all over with people. It was the busy season of spring work in the fields. हर जाए कैसा आदम शोर मुखर बले हमज़ो fields बले हमज़ो खेत ووقتی بهار رسیده بود چون مردم شروع کرده بود کاشتکاری. In the low-lying rice fields, three were at work. پس یک کھیتی چاول زمینی چاول میگن که سه چیز رو at a time کار کرده است. A powerful humped ox یک بسیار طاقتور گاو برای ازو که مو چیز کش کنه مو قلبرا knee deep in water और मु पायश के सता निस्पेशी बने आओ तरबूचर की चावल बिसार ज़्यादा में खाया वो आओ ज़्यादा सा. Was slowly dragging a rude wooden plow. तो कलबरा दरो चोबी कलबरा दर कश मुकर. Behind the plow, his bent back, shiny with sweat, followed the plowman. बज़ोन मो पर की काश्तकार ऐसा आसपास पास एब्जी गाँव रही और पुष्टि आसपास खेरा तरह And behind him, stepping high in his long red legs, strutted a stork, picking tadpoles and worms out of the ooze. बस स्पष्ट है जी नफर या किस्म परिंदा सा बिसार دراز in the Paidara was many out so swan no it's not a swan no Pai draz sar barik pai aspas azura as many am au ami arch ki janwar ya goch iski kharab mana kishtra ya chawul unara as many azu bukhari yazin chi daro rozi khram gir sara ya kar May Allah bless your labors, shouted Khoja Nasroddin. Taraf hai Zunafar.
Qabul mashallah.
Dua munashira. All three stopped and turned their heads towards the road. Arsesh kasar mujrok shut and sar prayer mitatar. The plowman brushed the sweat from his forehead and answered. Ami arak ko saaf kat azbali peshne Quran kashtkar. Thank you. May Allah bless your journey. Mehrbani Khuda safar suram de khatam. And the slow-paced procession moved off again in the same order. Bazonmu arsesh kesta? Asse right. The ox in the front, the plowman behind it, with the stalk bringing up the rear. Gau kesh pesh, kashtkar gol, paskushi. It was mid-April. The shadows of trees, yesterday so thin and light, today lay thick and heavy across the road. April asa موسم بهار تازه شروع شده رही है و مسورج متاقت خورا استیست باز گرفته رही है شرک ده خیال دین یعنی میترسته سر سورج زور شکم ولی لیکن ده بهار یعنی میترسته استیتیز شده رही है و او ده یخیا که مسایه زو بسیار نازک سایه بود عالی بسیار تیره سایه جوش ده درخته بربر کده. So richly had the spring clothed the trees in young foliage. Enmi bahar ramuga ki bisyar enmi daraktara tanawar kadawa kalan shuda. Bounteous and beneficent, she made no distinction between the noble almond tree and the poor prickly shrubs of the steppe. Wa bahar ishi rasel na kada ki darakht go darakht mewasta ya ego khashaya dalagdo. Tamam rakse enmi tarjih da wa tanawar kada tamam khuda. Between bipeds and quadrupeds, between the winged and the crawling, she lavished her gifts equally upon all. In mi bahar, tamam ye namat khura barit tamam barabar taqsim kara. Na barikas zyad, na barikas kam. For all in her eyes had equal claims to life and happiness. Chara, charki har cheez wa har kas yag sa haq darabare zindagi. The birds greeted her with a jubilant chorus of twitters and warbles. The frogs croaked, the lizard cricked, while the ants, bugs, beetles, and all the other tiny crawling things of the earth, which nature had deprived of the power of utterance, expressed their delight with a great stir and bustle, scurrying hither and thither. Bas inaminji qisse parinda mushna, qisse janwara mushna, qisse reptiles tha har janwar ki da yakhya put shuda bud, har darakht ki da yakhya khush shuda bud, wapas samzo zindagi khamar. Murjaham tamam as khana hai ko burshu. Could Khoja Nasroddin keep quiet amid all this joyous revelry and rejoicing? Khoja Nasroddin ki tamam izhar mein karna har kadam izna khosh hu tanawar shuda har cheez bur shuda har parinda ke sa आवाज mida daro diga Khoja Nasroddin soch kat ki da i sarshor ai aqlana است ki mam khamosh tishnu yana ya mam sarshor kana mam go cheez bugo. Intoxicated by the heady breath of spring, by the sunshine and the freedom, he joined his voice to the jubilant chorus. यानी तमाम परिंदा और हर हैवानात की मिंग करना ख्वाजा नसरुद्दीन हम गुफ्तो शुरू हो शेर शायरी शुरू हो चिमोगा. This is what he sang.
This is what he sang. गाने नसरुद्दीन गोश्त में अरीक वो दरिया रमगा ना मतलब जोई रमगा. The Arik runs for me, la la la. The bee buzzes for me, the garden blossoms for me, because I am man, because I am man. Singers, sing for me, the tambourine plays for me. My heart is on fire within me, because I am man, because I am man. The fields around are for me. My ass is a friend to me. The roads call to me, because I am man. Perceiving a herd going forth to its waiting place, Bazdir kiya the water sparkles for me, the herds goes thither for me, the years do not age me, because I am man, because I am man. Everything that he came across found an echo in his song. In birds are flying there, they are singing all along together, while we are listening to stories, because we are man. Everything he came across found an echo in his songs. And since God has made the earth round, and all earth's roads therefore cross and recross without end, so too did Khoja Nasroddin's song go on and on without end. He could have gone all around the world and reappeared from the other side, but the song that he would have appeared with would still have been the same. The world is round for me, it is too small for me. I have returned to my home again, because I am man. Guljan leads me, she scolds me, she grumbles at me, and then she kisses me, because I am man, because I am man. Meanwhile, in the country lane,
the country lane had grown wider and wider, the ruts even deeper, and ever more often he met arbabs, horsemen and pedestrians. یکی پر شده رفت از منی امزو شهر امو رود رفتر شده رفت یعنی کی کلان را رسیده هایوی رسیده یعنی تک شهر بروموری رودا کلان بشه. The ruts even deeper was منی امو خاکی گوڑه رفته و آدم رفته و هر چی رفته و یک دنه کھڑا انتر جوار کرده دیپ رفته شده. And ever more often he met بس هر جای که مرا یا ایگو گوڑه سوار وشم کرد یا ایگو آدم که پیدل رہی ہے ایگو کاروان سرا رہا ہے ایو چیزا وشم کرد. Towards midday, Khoja Nasroddin with a leap of his heart heard a low incessant rumble ahead of him. بس چشت کی شد بعد زور کی شد خواجه نصرالدین یکم تا हल्का आवाज़ी इसी एक زلزلة की आवाज़ आदर गुर 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 मुना यानी मितर की एगो कारवान रईस ज़मनी सहारा तीर दरिया. Like the sound of a distant waterfall, it was the hum and roar of the great high road. مثل एक आबशार वरीम था आवाज़ में मार ज़दूर.
लेकिन सदाए मुकारवाना वदकी रही ना वदा तमरम मजबूरम तर हम समाया कारवानों तक रही है.
The ass too recognized it with a start and pressed onward at a brisk trot. खबर शुद्ध के अन्विंजी कारवान सरार ज़दारिगा कम तेज़ बोरी बेरसी तमज़ना. Forward, forward! Shouted Khoja Nasroddin. Teez, teez! Jeer zadarat beleger. Prodding the ass with his heels, kadam zo upay khub zadariya diga kamarshi. Though that animal was making the best use of its legs without being urged. Halaki ukhar azawala mutar teez teez rai buda ye ajad lagad zadoi Khoja ish na buda lekin bazam excited shuda buda Khoja. The spectacles danced on Khoja Nasruddin's nose. He tore them off and flung them into the road, where striking a stone, they shattered in a spray of glass. Half an hour later, the high road lay before him. That's it. As always, the dust hung over it in a heavy cloud. مثل हमेशा खाक बारस. चर की रोड कच्चाया और जुंज कारवान रही हो गई, घुड़सवार रही है, तेज वस्ते रही है, खाक बार. Through which people, horses, oxen, asses, and camels moved in an endless stream. इसमें अज़ू आदम, खारू, घोड़ाऊ, शुतुरू, कारवान तमाम तेर मुशरज़. Some bound for the bazaar in Kokand, others coming from there. Negoishi tarafi Kokand raya, wa negukas amada raya. All mingled in a jostling, surging crowd that neighed, bellowed, brayed, and yelled in all keys. ومن يزو مختلف آدمها، من مختلف زبانها، يكشي شور منا، يكشي جيغ ميزنا، يكشي شور أصلا. Creating a deafening uproar. Karmuna muawashi. Khoja Nasruddin ki mujmora awashi bekhi am Khoja Nasruddin goshaishi inter malum ida ki goshai min al karma. Khoja Nasruddin directed his ass into the very thick of the throng, and the road caught him up with its eddying stream and swept him along. Khoja Nasruddin amani apna gad khod. Gad ki khod bazamu taraf ki adama rahe bod and adama uram ka khash kada bod. He was shoved from this side and poked from that. And poked from that. An ox whipped him painfully across the face with its tail. Painfully across the face with its tail, and a camel sneezed on his head. Beware! A driver, half crazed with the heat and the din, screamed in his ear. Azunchi bazeg nafar pasku magaya. Ego bas balego janwar shishta pesh goes jigmi zaki pasku. Khoja Nasruddin had scarcely dodged the man's whip. Bachao shuda diga em ki am zanj shalakh kashkata ki janwar khde space sar Khoja Nasruddin tez dik dida sar khur bachao gada diga ego rakam. Kho, when he heard above him the curses and excretions of a burly caravaneer who was ready to ride down all and everything in his path in order to bring his caravan in time and receive his promised reward. Bale azu caravan sir देर शुदा बुदा वो देगा दुनिया तंजीब बुदा क्या रखा स्पेशल मामाद माखूर हंसना मुनम देगा भाई देर शुदा बरिया. But in less than 5 minutes, Khoja Nasruddin had fully recovered his inner possession. Beware, beware! He was shouting now himself in a voice even more piercing than that of the driver. Khoja Nasruddin amamzun shi diga khod famid khod chidro jigzare diga bachao shu.
Pashin. Zra pashin. Rabidin, naku pashin diga.
He jostled and overtook those in front of him. As many mardum khode ta chuki kadara bas pesh samji sar girift tamam chizra. Fought with those going the other way, slipped adroitly between the arbas, dived under the chains connecting the caravan camels, and boldly steered his ass through the brown, strong smelling waves of sheep flour. لقد تشيشي نعرف تاي شطوري شودا تاي أمو باندي كي خرارة بسان تاي زي چوكي شودا كده مزنا كي روي بريش مايا كده زنا اي جنگ كده خاطر تيز رفته خنا تيز رفته كده كشتكر كده وزن جاغي زر گرفته يزن جاغي زر گرفته. خوب he spent the night at a roadside chaykhana. شاوكي شد he the roadside chaykhana the kinare labi amzu shahra ek chaykhana shift. The sunrise found him in the saddle again. Subki shud wapas bale amzu khar khushta. The road at that roseate early hour was quiet and deserted. Subhi ka ki mingar na road ra mingar na khali ya utar ki da bar zor sa subhi ka ijniya tamam charki khao. Caravans and arbas had not yet set forth from their halting places. Emi karwanu emi marduma kriya ina tabali az shor na khorda budu tawana na. The ass meandered from one side of the road to the other at his own street wheel. Was kharam dega unji didak shara khaliya gai ye taraf chakar mukhra gai taraf chakar mukhra az marzi khrayis. Khoja Nasruddin gave him head and did not touch the reins. He was occupied with his own thoughts. Khoja Nasruddin khu wish shud lekin khar na girf shira dam socha as khod kho mashghul bud. Sochi muna one more night of travel and tomorrow I shall see Khokhand. Yak shaw na roz safar diga sa azubach mada Khokhand mirsi. There at the bazaar I shall surely learn something about this Agabek. Onji ke da bazaar shiraftum azgo pursan aw hami Agabek mishnasi imkiya. He thought, conjuring up a vision of Khokhand square and mosques, the bazaar, the Khan's palace. بين ميشزارة كي دزين خصوص منا وتوام زارة عشما كي بازار شتور باشا ومحلي خان شتور باشا توام زارة دزين خميرة with the high-walled harem in which languished, according to rumor, 230 wives. Ramzu Pelesezu Ishindaki or Mukhan Chanzandara Mr. Dusidana. One for every day of the year, not counting fast days. Yak zan bare yak rozi sal. Baghair rozi roza. Dusa dusi zandana. Khoja Nasruddin had once visited Khokhand and left there a lasting memory of himself. Khoja Nasruddin yak dafa azi pesh ham da Khokhand buda. ونمنجي يك خلان كارنامه كده ودي كده زين زي وكارنامه شي تا اخر زندگی شون. He chuckled at the remembrance of one hot August night. بس يك خاطرات की د زين چې مایا بلې زوی خندا منکی دا مهینه اگست ګرم مهینه بودا ای وکار غدا بودا چیکار غدا بودا. The rope on harem wall, the stuffy darkness of the harem passages and the secluded nooks, and then. But here Khoja Nasruddin sharply reined on the steed of memory. O my precious Guljan, having once chosen you, I have remained faithful to you always and everywhere, even in far-off memories. The mahal ki rafta budai ek dafa bas munji dida ki वो आदमा खुद ज़्यादा इंजी लेकिन बस सोच मना कि उना गुलजान आरी खुमातरा गिरफ्तार दिया कदस्तु आखिर ज़िंदगी ना वफ़ादार अस्तम हालांकि हर चंद की आरस्तु दूर बोलना. Delighted and moved by his own nobility, adamzu sharafat es khod khubsiyat khosham shud. Basham ek feeling amadmination, feeling with his breast a pleasant lassitude, as if he had submerged his body in warm water. दोनों तरफ इरा एक अंदरूनी गर्माहट महसूस शुद फकत की मने गाँव गर्म खोद रहे हैं तरफ शंदा उठकुर कर रहे हैं. He cast a moistened eye around him and nearly fell out of the saddle from astonishment. बस يعني مي دفع كم خرازي يلبس بلي مخرخو فاسمنا يعني متري إحساس مش نكى ما أنت مو بفهم دراونا خود خرما برداشت نميتنا. There was no road.
روड ختم شده. خاص نمی‌رفته روड ختم.
این خدا سوچا بوده که سر خدم روड پاس کرده از میموریس خبرش دیگه لبلب سیل لگ دانچی واس مونده. راگم. Under the hooves of the ass lay spread a carpet of fresh dewy grass with a narrow path winding through it. سيل لك منيجا نا واخ هو مزون جي خرني ومجراج ورا. Below, under the hillside, ran an angry little mountain stream. Alu yamzu roadside. Nare ra nek chashma ragis. All in foam and eddies, while at one side rose a green wall of blossoming willows. Mazilab ki sel muna bale diwala. Gul bushadari yam diwal ki emu gul ki bale diwal palusha una gul kadari. In front, rearing its snowy caps above the clouds, loomed a hunched and sullen mountain. Ruiburikh ki sel muna? Pas pushti amzu ekdana koi kalana se pas pushti sarkhur kesas mani badala burka da bisyar kalan ek course which only an hour before had been on the right side of the road. I misbegotten wretch, O vile crossbreed of a jackal and a lizard, whither have you brought me? Accursed ass. Kharkhurun manji kessa. Tum karimuna. Baadshah. कि तू की तरीत रही बुदी ये बार कुजा और दे तू मां दिखा जाए रे बुदो मां जम दनी ना बुदम तू कुजा और दे हमारा. Cried Khoja Nasroddin jig misla. I have never been here before. मां जिंदा जिंदगी खुना मादो. I know not whither this trail leads and what yon stream is that rushes below. ما يتخبرني يم كي روड द कुजा मोरा सायजी कुदम चश्मा तेर मुशा जिंदगी खिंजनम दम कुजा और दे हमारा. Why did you turn off the high road? Ashara charpas shuditu. What mischievous designs do you carry in that? Chis watch ke de ye se shikar ke nahi tu khar khoronga. His first impulse was to raise his whip and make good use of it. Na walla impulse andruni jazba hai na ki adam gamite maan khara karna. Dil jishud ki شلا خربال كنا خوب دقيقة خوب استماعي كنا بريء كنا رجور تدي. But such peace and serenity reigned all round. The bees in the willows buzzed and the fat shaggy bumblebees droned in such a friendly way. بس سيل منا يلبا كي زمبرا إنجي وانا دا أمن شمن قشترية وزنشي قلاو وقشترية ويقص أمن وأمان هرجاي. The smell of wild honey hung so sweet upon the air. We shared qudrati share maya the biniyazi. The sun shone so kindly and lofty sky smiled so graciously that his arm dropped of his own accord without touching the back of his arms. بس افتاور سيل منو يقص هواي خوب مثلا من قرنا تمام چیز خو امن استا يبستايم زيام متر Happily you have learned the whereabouts of that lake from some hours of your acquaintance whom you have met upon the road. Muga ye jara mein khayal shayad to dekho kharidi ka pursan karna ho de dane ka ye khum chai qadam jaye basha khal said Khoja Nasroddin. If that be the case, then let the choice of the road be yours. Oh agar ye tak sa bas the road to decide. You are the master, I am your servant, go whither you will, I shall follow. تو قائمة ما غلام استوى كي بردي دقينا على ما كان استمر. Could he imagine at that moment that his words would prove prophetic?
Gabayazi, Soj, Metanistan Watki, Gubsar Kalan Gabasha, Gabamzi, go Manadashta Basha, that he would really become servant to his hours soon, and the latter his estimable and exacting master. Can we fish and we car should niasa, ki Kharazi, Akazi, Jormusha, E. Khodazi, Ulam as a car, Kharazi, Burt, Yim Basmugakia, and Arjay Rafti was Burdi. But let us not anticipate events. Obiani, events are Chisnakani, Hrabnakani, Peshkar Shunia, with secret Belina, my name is Kitab. Bearing in mind the words of the most virtuous Muzaffar Yasub Rajabi, ki Damzi Bara, Khoja Nafarra, Kinamshi, Muzaffar Yasub Rajabi, Asta, Chigupto, resemble not in thy narrative the puppy that yelps and whirls round, trying to catch the tip of its own tail. Mugayaga Sagai Reza Kalan Basha de Sagai and Mitarmuna Dum
Chesak.
Pasidum.
Chesak as Pasdum double neck.
And let us proceed to the next chapter, in which is related how Khoja Nasroddin entered into single combat with his own name, and of the grievous consequences that accrued to him therefrom.
Occurred to him.